Sooner Nation, Longhorn fans, welcome to episode 170 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Texas and the University of Oklahoma. I'm here with my man, Kevin Miller. I am John Whitson. Kevin, the University of Oklahoma has added a walk-on defensive lineman, Jacob Henry. He's currently a freshman on the wrestling team. Now, listen, anytime you could add somebody in the middle, I'm good with it. And somebody that's wrestled, wrestlers are nuts, right? You'll agree with this.
Of course.
Yeah, they're insane. And so, but in addition to just being a wrestler, he is the son of WWE Hall of Famer Mark Henry. Okay? Who was, in addition to being on WWE, a 3-time U.S. weightlifting champion and a 2-time Olympian. But I think bigger than all of that, Kevin, bigger than all of those accolades, which I think you'd agree are pretty good for the dad.
For sure.
Do you want to take a stab at his nickname?
Well, I already know this. I've been knowing about Mark Henry since the mid-'90s, but you go ahead and let our audience know.
No. What nickname do you got? What nickname you got?
For Mark Henry?
Yeah.
The world's strongest man.
The world's strongest man is one of them, but he also had another nickname that was equally
okay. Are we going to go there?
Sexual chocolate,
Sexual
Kevin.
chocolate, of course.
Sexual chocolate.
WWE. Yes.
The
Attitude Era, man, which would never be matched in the history of professional wrestling.
Listen, if I had a choice between world's strongest man or sexual chocolate, I think I'm taking sexual chocolate, Kevin.
Of course. I mean,
you sound like you have experience in terms like sexual chocolate. Is that correct?
I mean, I wouldn't, want to go that far.
Whoa!
Shout out to Mark Henry. Also, what you're leaving out is Mark Henry, major Texas fan.
I don't know. Maybe he's seeing the light, Kevin. Maybe he's been listening to the Bevo Podcast and realizes the right side of this rivalry. What do you think?
I think that the University of Texas doesn't have a wrestling program, and Oklahoma does.
First of all, I don't know that I knew that. I guess when you say it out loud, it makes sense. It's so weird to me that Texas doesn't have wrestling. They don't have gymnastics. It's just odd.
The state does.
No, I know nobody in the state has gymnastics. Is that the same thing for wrestling?
I don't know of any Texas programs that have wrestling. I could be wrong, but I've never heard of them. I'm not familiar with any.
Now, you grew up in Texas, in San Antonio. I grew up in San Antonio. I'm sure we had wrestling teams, I guess, but I didn't know any wrestlers in San Antonio when I was growing up.
I don't know if there were any a wrestling team, a school wrestling team. I don't recall that at all.
I'm sure there are now.
But there was some kind of youth type of, club wrestling teams. But yeah.
But I moved up to Oklahoma, and within like 2 days of going to school at Mustang, wrestling was a big deal.
Yeah.
Like it was a ginormous
it's popular here. I didn't know anything about it either until I moved here just a few years ago.
In addition to Mustang having Kendall, oh my gosh, I can't think of his last name. I'm going to be in trouble. An Olympic gold medal winner on their water tower wrestling. I'm going to be in trouble for what his last name is. But anyway, I can look that up later. Not the point. The point is in Oklahoma, it's a big wrestling community. I'm glad we got this guy. I don't know. Hey, what's a walk-on DL going to do for you? I don't know, Kevin, but what a great story.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's an undersized kid, right? He was actually a recruit. He's just kind of short. I think he's like 5'9", but obviously he's got the strength. He's got the footwork too, but he's just really undersized. So,
is there any undersized defensive lineman that made it big in the NFL? You would probably know.
Well, yeah, John Randall, Hall of Famer. He's only 5'10".
Oh, really? It's just he was low man wins type deal, and he was just able to get low
and just incredible quickness too.
Listen, dude, wrestlers are. Look, my son Jeffrey, not the most athletic kid in the world. We talk about him a lot. Decent golfer, not the most athletic kid in the world. Tried everything.
Jay Weasley, shout out.
We did soccer, we did basketball. We've talked about this before, but he got put in wrestling at Midwest City, like their club wrestling, when he was 4th, 5th grade.
Okay.
I was not 100% into the wrestling situation, but hey, you support their dreams or whatever. I started going to their practices to watch them, and it's the most intense conditioning of any sport I've ever seen.
Really?
Oh my God,
think about it, man.
Kevin, I played basketball. My girls play soccer. You see plenty of football stuff. You know what the guys go through to forget about it, dude. Wrestling is insane conditioning, and it makes kids so tough, even if they're not any good. Jeffrey was never any good at wrestling, but he came out of it just not, what's the word? Scared isn't the word. It wasn't like he was scared before, but just came out with like a sense of confidence.
Yeah,
like
a little confidence, yeah.
If I could get my head pushed into a mat for 3 minutes, I really can pretty much deal with anything,
That's
So,
great.
whatever.
That's what kids need. All kids need confidence, right?
Jacob Henry, we expect big things from you. Hopefully, Jacob, you will get a nickname like your dad.
Yeah, and Mark, he's such a fan of me. He's on the sidelines at the rivalry shootout. That's the kind of fan that's the kind of fan that Mark Henry is.
Mark, I'm going to be sending you a DM. Maybe we'll get you on the show. You can ask what sideline you're going to be on. What sideline does he go on next year?
Well, I'm sure if his son is lined up, he's probably on the OU sideline.
I don't know that that's true. I've got 2 daughters, Kevin. And if one of them was to play soccer, let's just use soccer as the example.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're good enough for soccer at Texas or Oklahoma, but let's just assume. And they were on this team at Texas. I would go watch every game. I'm not wearing burnt orange. I don't care if it is my
That's
kids.
fair.
And if they're playing Oklahoma, I'm on the sideline shouting Boomer Sooner, yelling at them.
Okay. I get it.
You're probably going to be a different father than me, but that's where I'm at right now. I couldn't do it. These people that do it, like when what's his name? Casey Thompson went to play for Texas. I mean, what in the world? What are we doing?
Well, it's not like Charles was wearing burnt orange. He wasn't.
I hope not.
No, he wasn't. Listen, man. No, it's college football. It's the most petty. College sports is the most petty thing ever. So I expect this.
Is it
nothing more petty than college football? Nothing.
Is it more petty than USA Canadian hockey?
That's. I didn't see this, but I heard about it.
My brother called me. My brother's a big hockey fan. So you got to turn it on. 9 seconds in, gloves were dropped. Is Trump to blame for all of this? Do we blame Trump for fights at hockey games now?
What do you mean? Fights have happened in hockey since the beginning of time.
9 seconds in, Kevin?
Yes.
9 seconds in.
Yes.
So you're saying don't blame Trump?
No. It's hockey.
All right.
It's hockey.
I wasn't making it political. I was just asking. All right. I don't even know where we're at. Other OU football news. Joe Castiglione, in an open letter to fans, supporters, donors, either last night or this morning, announced that indeed Oklahoma will be paying the $20.5 million max as allowed by the recent Supreme Court ruling. This will be the first time that schools have been able to directly pay student athletes, if we can still call them that. He goes on to say that the success of NIL programs will be the activities that occur above and beyond the $20.5 million. So even though they're announcing they're going to pay him $20.5 million, they're reaching out to the fan base and the donor base and saying, but we still need you to give. We still need you to donate. We still need you to contribute to NIL. I don't think it's any big deal. I just find it interesting that this is where we're at now, is being basically having to crowdsource GoFundMe athletic sports at university levels. I mean, that's where we're at, right?
That is
basically
exactly where we're at.
There's an ongoing GoFundMe page for Oklahoma football. As if the tickets weren't enough, as if paying for ESPN Plus isn't enough, as in the increased amount of parking it costs to go to games, whatever the case may be, merch, gear, you name it. And I know this isn't new. This is not a new rant. But it's an annoying, it's just to see it in print. and be like, hey, we're going to be paying guys $20.5 million. And this is going to speak, we're going to talk about OU basketball here in a minute. But then in addition to whether you donate or support or whether we pay or don't pay or whatever, you're also going to be the reason we suck because you're not showing up to watch an inferior product.
It's a crazy time, man. And, we've talked about this for years, that the old model was not sustainable. And I don't know if this new model is either. Actually, I know it's not. So I don't know where we end up ultimately when it comes to collegiate athletics, right? Because there was no way that you would have which is basically an unpaid workforce, which college athletes pretty much were, especially once the numbers brought in got into the billions, and the scholarships weren't really comparing to what was being brought in, it just wasn't going to last. But this way, I don't love it either. So, but I don't know how to fix this.
But I think you bring up a really good point. I think you bring up a great point here, right? Is under the old model, it wasn't sustainable because there was explicit exploitation of student athletes. A concerted group, whether it be the university, the conferences, the NCAA, were making inordinate amounts of money compared to the student athlete who was getting a scholarship, right? That was your argument.
That's right.
However, the schools and the conferences in the NCAA in the playoff era specifically are continuing to make crazy amounts of money, but the emphasis has been put on fans and alumni to fund the students.
Correct.
So the money's still there, Kevin. The big money. And all they've done is allocate $20.5 million, which maybe that's a lot. I don't know. At this point, I don't think any of us know what that even means. But it's like everybody's still making money. And those dudes have now figured out, the dudes, whoever they are, have figured out a way to go, okay, we're going to pay the athletes because we were exploiting the crap out of them, but we can't pay them out of our pocket. We got to pay them out of the fans' pocket.
Correct. Yes. And that's the thing with NIL. That's why they were fine with NIL. It's like, we're still not paying them. That just allows local fans and people like alumni.
I'm sure this isn't new, but it just kind of hit me when I said it out loud. And it's just like, it pisses me off, which is why, and I've been honest about this, I'm not donating. I'm not going to, guess what? I already pay for sports. It's called club soccer and youth golf and, fundraising for Longfellow Middle School basketball girls. That's what I'm paying my money for. I'm not going to turn around and pay for it for Oklahoma football when there are plenty of funds to go around which aren't being used in an appropriate manner. Am I?
Right.
I don't think I'm being selfish here, Kevin.
No, there's a ton of money. These schools are making a ton of money off football. Football is very profitable, especially at the respective universities that we support.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's
a for-profit business.
So anyway, that's a letter. Go read the letter. Make sure you donate. OU needs a great NIL program. Okay. Last thing I got two more things for OU football, and then we'll transition to some Texas football. In the latest saga of the retread Oklahoma coaches and former athletes, Brent Venables has signed Kevin Wilson up to be the next offensive analyst. Since Oklahoma, when he left in 2010 as a very successful offensive coordinator, he was the head coach in Indiana, the OC at Ohio State, and most recently the head coach at Tulsa. Kevin, his coaching record. Any idea what his head coaching record was in college football?
No clue. I don't think it was great given his stops.
Do you think it was 500?
No, absolutely not.
33-63.
Not everybody's built to be a head coach. It's all right.
Look, I don't know. Maybe Kevin Wilson's a fine offensive analyst. Maybe he's the guiding hand that young Ben Arbuckle needs, right? To navigate game planning and navigate big-time college football. He was an OC at Ohio State, and they were very good. I don't think they're as good as they are now, but they were very good when he was the OC there.
Yeah.
And obviously at Oklahoma, almost 20 years
Pretty
ago,
dynamic offense. Yeah, it's been a while, but the offenses were dynamic.
well, Sam Bradford won a Heisman under him. I mean, they scored 60 points in a row. I don't know what, 6 games in a row, including the Big 12 championship. I'm not discounting what he's done. It's like, OU as a fan base is getting frustrated with John Finley. I personally frustrated DeMarco Murray. And the list kind of goes on with these kind of the retread guys. Though Seth Luttrell was just a disaster. I know he's only an analyst. Maybe it's much ado about nothing. But man, some new blood wouldn't hurt, Kevin. And maybe Ben Arbuckle's that new blood. I don't know. It's just the way I feel about Oklahoma right now, football right now, everything makes me mad.
Okay, you want to see somebody who's just not associated with the program at all.
I would prefer never to have heard of somebody. It'd be like, oh, really interesting. Okay, great.
Makes sense.
Maybe he brings something fresh to the deal. It's like Kevin Wilson.
Yeah, just more eyes on the program. And I get it, though. It's just a guy who has already been there. But more eyes on the program doesn't hurt. The question I have, though, this is kind of, you brought up DeMarco Murray. What do you think about his flirtation with Penn State?
I think I'm on the record of saying that I'm not happy with the way DeMarco has developed players over the last 3 seasons. Seems to be a hell of a recruiter. I mean, We've got 5-star running backs running out our butts. I couldn't think of a better word. And we just got tons of 5-star recruits and high 4 stars and Taylor Tatum and all this stuff. And when you look at the performance of the running backs, they do not get better as the year progresses.
Yeah.
The last time that occurred was Eric Gray, right? Which we talked about at length.
Yeah.
But since then, no. And then this year in particular, this past season in 24, was this question of was the right guy even playing after we saw Xavier Robinson? Yeah. So not only are we not developing who we have, all we heard about Javonte Barnes in 2023 was he was hurt. He's hurt. He's hurt. He's hurt. He's hurt. He's hurt. He's hurt. Why is he only getting 3.5 yards? Well, he's hurt. He's hurt. He's hurt. He's hurt. He's the exact same runner in 2024. Was he hurt in 2024?
For sure.
And so, anyway, all that to be said, I would not have been butthurt if he went to Penn State.
I'm going to say, yeah. It was interesting. I was curious because, Penn State has a very dynamic tandem of running backs who are coming back next year. I think they have the top running back duo in the country.
Probably, yeah. They were good.
I'm sure that caught his attention. I don't know what the salary was going to be like, but he grew up here as far as his college years and stuff, and to leave here to go to State College, PA, had to be a perfect opportunity.
Well, the only thing that I would, and maybe this speaks to some optimism in the OU the OU coaches room, is maybe he looks at Ben Arbuckle and says, man, we got a chance to have a really good offense.
Yeah.
Like with Mateer, we spread it out, get the ball moving. Maybe my running backs can finally have some space to go run. I mean, I think that's a positive sign that he's willing to stay. I just want him to develop his running back room better and identify the players that need to be running. Makes
sense.
That's my deal.
We talked about it all season. So,
speaking of identification, since our last podcast, Daniel Odom, a 4-star wide receiver out of California, has committed. Oklahoma in their 26th class has 2 4-stars and 2 3-stars and are currently ranked 22nd. It's very early, Kevin. But I think Oklahoma, we're okay. I was a little taken aback when you mentioned last week that we were like 17th or 18th in the country.
Your class of 25.
That was unnerving, Kevin. And I guess I hadn't paid attention to it with as bad as OU football has been. I'd been distracted by what was going on over here to not pay attention to what was going on in the left hand. And that's concerning. It sounds fine, top 17 in the country, but not when you were 17th and 10th in the SEC?
Correct. That's the concerning part. If we're in the Big 12, that's one thing. You'd still be probably the second
Every
highest
year.
class in the Big 12. But yeah, the SEC not going to cut it. Definitely have to see an uptick in recruiting this year for Coach Venables. Absolutely
Uh,
has to.
in Texas football news, University of Texas, the Longhorns. Arch Manning came out with why he didn't want to go to Alabama. Long story short, he would have been too big of a celebrity, and he can blend in Austin. Do you buy that?
Slightly. I mean, look, he's Arch Manning, right? Everybody knows who he is. But it's a bit of a bigger environment, a little bit more to do than just Alabama football. So it's just more of a place to also be a college student as opposed to just being the quarterback at the University of Texas. So yeah, I'm glad he feels that way.
Unfortunately, I think Arch is poised to have a big year. I think the bigger question will be, will you be able to supplement it with wide receiving talent and running back talent? Will everybody be
Yeah, I
back? And
mean,
will his skill position around him look as good as it did last year?
well, it's a lot of questions for Texas offensively, starting with the offensive line. I mean, losing 4 starters, right?
Yep.
And, there have been positions I've told you over the years, right? I think we're going to be better at this position. Like we talked about the secondary last year, right? And we lost those guys. And I told you, no, they're going to be better this year because the talent's better. I don't care about the experience. We have better players. We're going to be better. I cannot say this about the offensive line, right? Kelvin Banks, stud. Cam Williams, just a solid, good player. Jake Majors, very experienced at center, making all the offensive line checks. Like that. Hayden Connor, experienced at guard. So we're replacing all that. We feel good, about a couple of guys, but we just don't know. A lot of question marks. And then, like you said, a receiver. We lose some guys. We have talent. Ryan Wingo is an incredibly talented player. DeAndre Moore has shown flashes, but these guys aren't proven. So I talked about this kind of like with Arnold last year. When you have an inexperienced offensive line with an inexperienced quarterback, that could be scary. And then with our running game, right, we lose Jaden Blue, Wisner's back, but is CJ Baxter going to be back and healthy?
Yeah.
This year? What's the depth going to look like in the running back room? So yeah, lots of questions for Texas offensively coming into the season.
Any expectation that Texas is going to be active in the second portal for offensive linemen?
Yeah, I expect them to look. It's hard, man. It's to find big time guys in the portal at this point, and what they're looking for is guys with experience who can come in and make an impact now. They're not looking for projects in the portal. They're looking for
so they have plenty of depth, is what you're saying. The depth is there. It's just
yeah, exactly. We just got young. The talent is there. They've got guys who they like, but are they ready to go in the SEC this year? Right? Because I think the expectation for Texas is becoming to be a contender to make the college football playoff, right? Contend in the conference and make the playoff. Do we have the offensive lineman that can do that this year? If there's somebody out there that can help, then I'm sure they'll reach out for him. And I think they'll do the same at running back and receiver if somebody becomes available. But is that going to happen? Is there going to be a Matthew Golden out there who is just an absolute godsend out of the portal? You get a guy like that. So we'll see.
On your coaching front, Jason McKindu, formerly of Oklahoma State, their tight end coach, is now the tight end coach at Texas. Tight ends has been a strong spot for y'all the last couple of years. I don't even know what happened to your old one. What happened to your old tight end coach?
Nothing. No, just another guy to bring into the room. Jeff
Really?
Banks has been the tight ends coach, but he's also the special teams coach. So I'm not sure if he's going to focus more on special teams, because special teams for Texas did kind of fall off a bit this season compared to last. So I'm not sure how this is all going to shake out. If they're going to have Jeff Banks just focus on that and have this guy work with the tight ends more, or what. But yeah, I think Sark is kind of trying to take what Saban did at Alabama and just bring as many eyes on the program as possible. The NCAA doesn't limit how many support staff members you can have. I think he should bring in as many as he can, because that's really worked for Nick Saban there at Alabama.
You also got a replacement for Blake Gideon, longtime Texas DB's coach. Who's replacing him?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, congratulations to Blake Gideon, former Texas safety. He was hired by Georgia Tech to be their defensive coordinator. So really good job for him. The
where was he from? Where real quick, where was he from? Where did he go to high school? Do you remember?
Yeah. Blake Gideon? He's from Leander High School. It's just outside of Austin.
Paul Thompson, Leander High School.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Shout out to Paul Thompson. Good player. I still can't believe y'all won the Big 12 with him at quarterback after he had switched to wide receiver.
There was a large contingent of fans that wanted Paul Thompson to start over. What was our boy's name? Who beat him out?
Bomar?
Yeah, Rhett Bomar. No, Rhett Bomar. No, not Sam Bradford. Rhett Bomar.
And Bomar was so talented, man.
Yeah, but he was an idiot, Kevin. He might have been talented, but he was an idiot.
He ended up being that.
You can win in college football if you have a good, solid quarterback that's not stupid. Sometimes look at see Alabama's wins. See Texas under Quinn. Quinn's going to go back. Quinn Ewers is going to be remembered as the quarterback that brought you out of oblivion, but he's not going to be remembered as like some stud quarterback. Right?
Yeah, he's not like Vince Young, Colt McCoy.
He's not Vince Young. He's not Colt McCoy. He's not compared to OU players. He's not Blake. He's not Baker or Kyler, right?
Yeah.
Or
Bradford.
He's gonna be recognized as like, man, the right guy at the right time that didn't make a lot of mistakes, move the ball around, blah 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 blah. You can do that in college football, and you could do, especially back in the 2000s, or especially when you had Adrian Peterson at running back. Like, there's a lot of things you could do. There's a lot of things you could do. Instead, you get kind of an idiot at quarterback. Now, did he like rack up interceptions? I don't know, but you just wonder what kind of decisions he was making. Anyway, this isn't.
Yeah, it's off the field stuff, but I mean, dude, the dude was so talented. There's no way you could start Paul Thompson over him, and I like Paul Thompson.
We didn't win a Big 12 championship though. With
you did not.
And that year with Paul Thompson, we get screwed at Oregon.
You do.
Okay,
Royally.
we get screwed at Oregon. So our only two losses was Oregon and Texas, if I remember right. Did we lose maybe another game?
You lost that TCU game in 05. Talking about 05 or 06?
06.
06.
Yeah, 06 is.
Bomar, was he out in 06?
Yes.
Yeah.
He only was there 1 year.
Yeah.
And
what did you think about that? Should he have gotten kicked off the team?
Sometimes I think it's so long ago.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It's so long ago. But sometimes you think that when decisions like that are made, it's like a convenience for coaches.
Yeah.
Like I
feel like more to it than that, right? He must have been.
Yeah, right. Like
you don't get rid of a 5-star quarterback.
You don't get rid of a 5-star
having a no-show job at a car dealership.
Like you suspend them, you self-vacate wins, you do a lot of different things. But I just feel like they're probably like, you know what, you're a pain in the butt. Yeah. I don't know. That's just again 20 years ago. I remember the shock of it. But at the same time, I remember going, oh, I kind of like Paul Thompson. And I know you're right. You're right. He was a better talented quarterback. Whatever. Anyway, Blake Gideon. Who's replacing Blake Gideon?
Okay. Yes, Blake Gideon being replaced by Mark Orphy. He was the DB coach at Rutgers under Greg Schiano. But he was a Houston. First of all, I guess he sent 3 players to the NFL over the last couple of years from Rutgers. And he is from Houston, North Shore High School. So he's got some chops recruiting there, and apparently Sark thinks he's a guy. So I trust Sark, so we'll see how it goes.
You have one opening left with Tashard Choice, former running back at Oklahoma. I think 1 year.
Didn't want to back up Adrian Peterson. No, not upset about that. I don't think you guys would be.
Yeah, he was behind AD and Kewan Jones, I think. Like he was the third running back. And I remember he got into a game one time, and I'm like,
yeah, this is good.
this guy's
Yeah,
like
I remember
this
too.
guy's
Yeah.
really good to get into a game. You know what I mean? He's like, I know that he doesn't. He's not
It's
gonna.
gonna bury you.
He went Georgia Tech, right? Is that right?
Georgia Tech. Yeah. And that's where Texas hired him from. He was at Georgia Tech, and he was actually, I don't know if you remember this, but he actually got hired. Lincoln hired him to go to USC. He had agreed to take the job at USC, and then Sark came in, and he told USC actually he chose Texas over USC. How do you feel about that? You screw over
I'm
Lincoln
sitting right
Riley,
here.
but to go to Texas though.
I'm sitting right here, and I don't know what I feel about that, Kevin.
Yeah, it's
I
like
feel
you could benefit Lincoln, or you have to coach against his running backs.
Yeah, that's a
for the
weird
foreseeable future.
I don't like the thought of it. It's a weird that's a weird question.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, he was a very popular member of the staff. He's a great recruiter.
Where did he go to the pros? He go to the NFL?
He did. First of all, he interviewed for the Dallas Cowboys running back job, and apparently the Cowboys gave him a low ball offer. So he decided to stay at Texas, but then Dan Campbell called.
Oh, he's going to Detroit?
He will be the running backs coach for the Detroit Lions.
That's way better than the Cowboys, bro.
Yeah, I agree. And he gets to coach Jahmyr Gibbs, who he coached at Georgia Tech. Before Gibbs
transferred to Bama.
To Alabama after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, congratulations to him. But yeah, big loss because he's such a good recruiter. And he was our recruiter in Georgia where we have started to get played. We got 2 players out of the state last year, and we're in it for several more in this class. So whoever we bring in is going to have to try to rebuild the relationship that he had with those guys in the Deep South because he was our guy for that region of the country.
Any thoughts on
the guy himself?
Any thoughts on who's going to replace him? Is there names out there?
A few games, but nothing really solid. Last I checked.
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But it's a big loss because, like I said, he was such a good recruiter and he's a good relationship guy, and he obviously coached some pretty good players while he was here.
Kevin, let's take some time to thank our sponsors. It's freezing cold outside as we're recording this on February 18th. Snow and ice, make sure you're dripping your faucets. But if you do end up having any kind of loss, like a water loss or something like that, where you're going to be forced to file an insurance claim that gets you out of your house, call Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. They work for the insured, not the insurance company, in the adjustment of losses. Their job is to get you more money than you get on your own. They've been doing it since 2006 in Moore, Oklahoma. Call Brown O'Haver, 405-735-5510. Kevin, nobody's probably putting a roof on this week, but when it becomes roofing time, especially as hail season's about to ramp up and there might be a roof issue, who should they call?
They got to give our friends at Pioneer Roofing a call. They'll go out and give you a free inspection. If you need a new roof, they'll help you get it all taken care of. Again, free inspection, 405-549-2712.
And we're going to have I don't know enough about women's basketball, except to say Texas women's basketball under the worst coach in the country, Vic Schaefer, is 26-2 with number 1 in the SEC with 3 top 10 wins in a row. So anybody that thought Texas women's basketball was going to suffer coming into the SEC has been proven slightly wrong to this point. And I couldn't be happier for Vic Schaefer. Not at all. Can't stand him. Women's basketball at Oklahoma, led by Jenny Baranczyk, a much better coach. What she's doing with her talent is far superior than anything Vic Schaefer is doing. They are 19-6, 7th in the SEC. Their next game is against Vanderbilt, where they have to go up against Michaela Blake, who all she did in her last outing was go for 55 in a women's basketball game, surpassing her previous record for Vanderbilt women's basketball of 53 less than 2 weeks ago. So shout out to both women's basketball teams. You guys are holding up your end of the bargain. Now, for men's basketball. Let's start with the University of Texas since we started with football for Oklahoma. Big win against Kentucky, though. Beat number 15 Kentucky, 82-78. You end a 3-game losing streak. You get a midweek off bye week kind of sort of thing, and you get rewarded with that after that big win, getting to play South Carolina. It's not very good. I mean, this could be an opportunity to kind of get a little momentum. We talked about this last time. The
Yeah,
closing
I
stretch
mean,
for Texas.
they're bottom of the SEC. They're 0-12 in conference.
The closing stretch for Texas is incredibly more favorable than the closing stretch for Oklahoma. Trey Johnson, SEC Freshman of the Week. And as of the latest bracketology, Texas is in. This is as of this morning. Texas is one of the last 4 teams to receive a bye. That's positive for Texas, especially considering, like what I talked about, the closing stretch. Thoughts on Texas basketball, Kevin?
Well, yeah, I mean, they just keep finding a way to stick around, right? I don't know how good they are, but I tell you, Trey Johnson is very good. And he is climbing up the ranks of one of the best freshman years that we've ever seen at Texas. Obviously, Kevin Durant is untouchable in that aspect. And then, TJ Ford behind him. But to be averaging 19.8 points a game as a true freshman, and what you've seen with him is a development as the season's gone on. When he first started, he was just a guy who was trying to score because he's a dynamic scorer. But he's becoming such a good playmaker. His assists are up, his rebounds are up. So he's becoming a really good all-around player, an all-around leader, too. So he's a fun player to watch. He's got great size, 6'6", 190. Physically, I'm not saying he's this guy, but physically, he's got that kind of SGA type of build that, 6'6", lean, but strong enough to drive, get to the hole, can stop and pop at any moment. So, yeah, he's having a great season, and he's fun to watch. I don't know how good this team is, but he's one of those guys, John, that when you get into the tournament, and you've got a guy who can score, this is a team that could potentially get a couple upsets and make a unexpected Sweet 16 run just because he's such a dynamic scorer.
My question, the question I've written down, and you kind of spoke to it a little bit, but just get an official answer. Is Trey your second best one and done player ever?
I think so. I really do. Yeah, because we've had other great players, but they didn't leave after 1 year. Like LaMarcus Aldridge was there 2 years. Some of our better guys, but yeah, and TJ Ford was there 2 years. But yeah, as far as a one and done go, I think he's number 2, which is crazy to say with still so much basketball left to be played.
Now in football, there's probably not for lottery picks, I guess, but you can sometimes bridge the gap with NIL to get people to stay, but probably not with an NBA lottery pick, right?
I don't think so, man.
He's got to go, right?
I think it's too big of a difference. So yeah, I think he's gone, and good for him. But we great.
Listen, I hate to say this, but the benefit of the schedule is working out in Texas's favor again. It happened.
Are we talking about the whole schedule or just the?
I'm talking about the ending of the schedule. I'm talking about the ending and the timing of it. It's awfully convenient that the SEC and ESPN has found a way to backload your schedule to create a situation in which Texas, the big brand of Texas, makes the NCAA tournament by default, by simply showing up. It's unbelievable to me.
You sound like a hater.
Kevin, I'm not a hater. Look at the math. Dude, this is just geometry, And what I'm saying is it's the same thing they did in football, which is we have to give Texas a soft opening into the SEC. They cannot experience the full brunt of the SEC, or it will potentially derail their program forever. Oklahoma can handle it. Oklahoma can handle it. You play everybody in football?
No, I'm talking about basketball. Football, I got no argument for that.
South Carolina on a light week. You get South Carolina on a light week, Kevin. Come on.
Who do you guys play?
You know who we get? Florida tomorrow. Okay, let's transition to Oklahoma basketball, which is the most fun topic in my life right now. Okay.
Yeah. I feel you heating up over there. So go ahead and let it out.
With one of the worst losses in the history of Oklahoma basketball, to lose to a lackluster Louisiana State Tiger basketball team at home in a game where you led by as much as 13, I think, and by 5 with 22 seconds to go, and your best player jumps on a 3-point attempt with 20 seconds left and fouls him for an and one 4-point play? Is it Porter Moser's fault that Jalen Moore jumped? No. But is it safe to say that over the last 4 years, he's created a culture where people make dumb decisions when it comes to key moments? I think it's okay to say that.
Yeah, I mean, this one was inexplicable. I mean,
Is it is anything ever the coach's fault? Can you always look at the players? Well, they don't execute. Well, they don't follow the game plan. Well, they don't do this. They don't do that. Okay, at some point, the accountability has to end with the head coach. How much does Porter Moser make? A couple million a year?
I'm sure.
Stop it. The University of Oklahoma, I had a buddy of mine, shout out to Perry Spencer. We were talking about this yesterday. He's like, I mean, why would somebody want to go to Oklahoma when they could go to a mid-major like a Butler or a Creighton or Marquette? You don't have your NIL, you don't have this, you don't have the support, you don't have that, And all due respect to Perry, I said, in the last 40 years, cumulatively, the history of the Oklahoma basketball program, from Final Four appearances to number one players in the country to simple win percentage and competitiveness and profile, and now we're in the SEC, it's a top 25 program. That's not an exaggeration. That's not my Oklahoma Sooner boxer shorts. It is definitively a top 25 program. It's Porter Moser, who had 2 runs with a mid-major, and the only 2 times he's ever been in the NCAA tournament, and he cannot replicate it at Oklahoma because he's going to the 2 hardest conferences. And I've had enough of it. People go, I don't want to say I want the guy fired or not fired or whatever. I'm not saying fire a temp worker at Walmart who makes $12 an hour right before Christmas type fire somebody. I'm saying fire the multimillionaire who is running the Oklahoma basketball program into the ground. That's what I'm saying. There's a difference. There's a difference when you say fire somebody, when he is making well over $1 million and he's in a very high profile spot in the state. And on top of that, the machine that is Oklahoma basketball, or some version of it, is not blaming him, but blaming fans for not showing up. As if they had any control about Jalen Moore jumping on a 3-point play with 20 seconds to go. Is that enough? Is that enough?
Yeah, no. I mean, everything you said was fair, right? And sometimes it's just not a good fit.
Right? It's not a good fit.
Look, we had Shaka Smart, was a great coach.
I love Shaka.
At VCU. So do Texas, I. But... It didn't work at Texas. It just wasn't a good fit. For whatever reason, it wasn't good. He goes to Marquette, and they're great.
Now, did he start growing his hair out at Texas?
I don't think so. I think he always had a shaved head at Texas.
It wasn't until Marquette?
I believe so.
Okay, so we can't blame it on that?
I don't think so.
I
didn't even know he could grow his hair. I thought he had the head shave because he had to.
I kind of like the head shave.
Do you?
It looks awkward.
Or is it just weird? It's just weird.
I don't. When somebody has a shaved head, it'd be like if Michael Jordan decided to finally start growing his hair. It'd be like,
yeah, well, Michael Jordan shaved his hair because he started losing his hair.
Well, that's fine. I'm just saying.
I'm saying this. That's why when you see someone with a shaved head, you typically think it's because they're losing their hair.
Kevin, look at this. What we're seeing here is male pattern baldness. Okay, if you're on the YouTube, I would kill to shave my head. All right, I think shaved head dudes, white guys or black guys, I don't think it matters. I think dudes that can pull off shaving their head I think they look pretty mean, right? I think they look pretty good. And I've got facial hair now, so I'm like, man, I can have a beard. I could shave my head. This would be great. But can you see this, Kevin? It's lumpy. Yeah. That's it's like a Scotty.
I couldn't pull it off either.
It's a Scottie Pippen lumpy type situation on the top of my head. All right. So again, I'm not picking on anybody's hair situation. I was just simply wondering. So my point is, I can't shave my head. When I finally do shave my head, people are going to ask what's wrong with me. But anyway, Shaka Smart, was he 40 minutes? What was he? Chaos? What was his
Havoc.
deal?
He did not bring it to Austin, and I don't know why.
Should have.
I think he could have got 4 and 5 star guys to do it. Maybe he just didn't think they would. I'm like, dude, that's why they hired you. That edge you brought, that attitude that your players had. That's why Texas hired you.
Was he did he come from VCU?
VCU.
Yeah, you got to think about what the athlete that Texas should have been able to recruit, even if it wasn't
the athlete that they did recruit.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But even if it was going to cost you a 5-star, but you could get 6 4-stars that were willing to run that versus anything VCU had, right? It would have been insane. It would have been insane. And who doesn't want to play in that? I don't play enough basketball. I don't know that that's a turnoff for guys playing in that system.
No, guys, go look at what they were doing at Duke under Coach K. They're absolute madness defensively.
Yeah. Anyway, you're right. Go back.
Anyway, all this to say that sometimes it's not the right fit. I'm not saying that he's not a good coach. It's just not working. We've seen it for 4 years now. I don't see what is going to happen to magically change. There's no buzz. The fans seem like they're getting to the point to where they don't care. And that's worse than being upset, is when they don't care.
It's so bad. Well, I don't care. I do care. It is so bad that OU player parents had started to engage on X.
That's never good, man.
You don't recover from that.
No.
I don't know that's worse than Jalen Moore jumping up on a 3-point shot with 20 seconds to go and fouling the guy. Because when that starts to happen, and listen, it's coming from an interesting source too. Did you see this? Are you aware of who I'm talking about?
No, I have not heard about this at all.
Okay. Dayton Forsythe has been the one breath of fresh air on Oklahoma's team this season.
Yeah, the freshman.
He's been coming off the bench. He's got really big energy. In some of the games we've lost, he's been one to keep it close. Some of the games we've won, he's given us some big run. Not the most talented kid on the team. I don't think anybody's saying that. But it's nice to see the kids. And he's got a give a rip factor, right? Like the kid plays hard. And sometimes with basketball, dude, give me some defense and some turnovers and let other guys make shots or whatever, right? So I love the kid. It's great. His dad has engaged in the Twitter wars now. And he's saying, if you're not in the locker room, you don't need to be talking. And if you're not showing up, you don't need to be talking. And even if you're showing up, maybe the donors you think about blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hey, man, I appreciate what your son's doing. And I appreciate, your role as his parent and stuff. But the right to question college athletics and the way in which they're being conducted at your particular university, that horse has gotten out of the barn.
Yeah. For sure.
This isn't junior high or high school sports where, we just need to support these kids and we're just here for the kids and they're just, blah, 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 blah. Like, stop it. Yeah. I don't know I don't know what Dayton Forsythe's NIL deal is, and I don't care. It doesn't matter. And
again, I'm not one to be bashing kids individually, but to bashing the team, that's what fans do.
That's what fans
do. Yeah.
And the funny part is nobody's bashing his kid.
Exactly. We're just bashing the team. You're bashing the team.
Now that being said, there's an element of, hey man, I'm glad you're standing up for your kid's team. Like, okay, I get it, but don't put that out there on the X thinking you're going to get some support for that, because that's not going to happen.
No. Remember what fan is short for.
Yeah, and that I thought the response was actually pretty even-handed, right? Like, oh yeah, you're right, and then the others were like, hey man, we love your kid, like, and we're glad he's at Oklahoma. We're glad, and this isn't an indictment on him, but we can't lose to LSU by 3 points.
Not when you're up 5.
When you're up 5, and they're terrible.
One win in conference.
Yeah, it's Kevin. It's insane. What's even more
It just sounds
insane?
like it's just time for everybody else to move on. It's time for everybody just to move on.
You want to know what's more insane? Joe Lenardi, Black Ecology, has OU in a play-in game.
Really?
How in the hell is Oklahoma in a play-in game right now?
Yeah.
No, we've got quad one wins in the non-con and all of that. Dude, we are terrible. We are going to – the line – I don't know what the line a couple days ago was 14.5 against Florida. Listen, dude, if they had online betting in Oklahoma, I think I'd be unloading on the Florida Gators.
Those on the road, too. I just saw it. Ugh.
What's that?
I said, it's at Florida, too. I just saw
That's number 2 Florida, and we're having to travel down there after losing at home to LSU. What? Dude, are you not? Would you not be unloading on Florida?
Yeah.
It almost seems too easy. Does Florida have somebody hurt that I don't know about?
They beat us by 16. We had to go down there, too.
Go on. Oh, you remember those Florida teams? Like, who was it? Noah? Was it Noah something?
Florida had 2 runs under Billy Donovan. First of all, the one you're talking about with Joakim Noah, Al Horford, and Corey Brewer.
Yeah, Corey Brewer is such a good player.
I mean,
I like Corey Brewer. I did not hate Florida basketball because they weren't Kentucky.
No, yeah, Florida. And remember the run before that with Mike Miller. And
that's funny
and
because
Udonis Haslem.
You know what's funny is I didn't like that team.
Okay.
I didn't like Mike Miller, and I didn't like but I liked the second one. Isn't that weird?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's different players. It's like Duke, right? Like Duke has had different runs, and maybe you just like certain teams better.
I actually liked Duke all the way up until the Grayson Allen era, but I couldn't do it. Coach K turned into it. Coach K turned into a dick. Yeah. And Grayson Allen is the biggest douche I've ever seen play basketball. I can't stand that guy.
Because Christian Laettner also played for Duke. But at least Christian Laettner was a baller,
though. Christian Laettner was a baller, and he did some sketchy stuff. You cannot argue that. But he wasn't just like outright tripping players in the middle of the first half.
I've never seen him trip somebody. I mean, he did step on the Kentucky player's chest.
I loved it. I loved it. Greatest game of all time? Greatest college basketball game of all time?
And his performance, man, never forget it. 10 of 10 from the field, 10 of 10 from the line, 30 points.
So good. I mean, Bill Walton did that in the finals.
Insane.
Bill Walton did that in the finals. You bring up Christian Laettner, and I was flipping through channels last night, and there's a documentary out on, I think it's an HBO, We Beat the Dream Team.
Oh, was that out? I heard it was coming.
It's out. And I caught.
It's about the practice one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I know the story. I haven't watched it yet, but it made me think about. That being said, I like Christian Laettner, but Shaquille O'Neal should have been on that team.
100%.
I don't know. I think it's pandering. I think it's pandering to Coach K.
That would make sense. He was an assistant, right, under Chuck Daly?
Probably.
I think he was.
I don't know how you couldn't do Shaq.
You didn't think Shaq would be too good?
That's if that's the case, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But
think about it. The players, the egos of players. I mean, Michael Jordan literally kept Isaiah Thomas from being on the team.
Who does he
replace?
Which
obviously would have made them better.
Does he replace John Stockton, the all-time assist leader in the NBA at that point?
I would imagine so. If you have to, maybe Chris
Mullin. Or Drexler.
I think they take out Chris Mullin.
Yeah, Chris Mullin. Speaking of hair, I always thought his hair was a bit much.
It was crew cut.
Yeah, it's crew cut.
Yeah. I remember when I found out he was from New York City. I'm like, how do you have a haircut like that? You're from New York City. You hear him talk. He's got the New York accent and everything.
Isn't he coaching somewhere? Did he coach St. John's or something?
Like the head coach?
Yeah. Chris Mullins, right?
Mullin.
Oh no, he's an executive somewhere.
But shout out to him. I saw him at the All-Star. He was part of the All-Star festivities the other day. But yeah, Shaq on the Dream Team is just unfair to go along with. Of course, they had Patrick Ewing,
David
of course,
Robinson.
the great David Robinson. So
Dude,
to add Shaq to that, I mean,
David Robinson was basically Captain America before the new Black Captain America. Am I right?
oh, for sure.
And to be fair, I'm excited about the new Black Captain America, and I think I probably shouldn't be referring to it as that, but that's what's happened. But David Robinson was Captain America.
Correct. I mean, Naval Academy grad.
Oh,
yeah. What a player! I just can't imagine him playing now. He'd be the best player in the NBA right now. If we had prime David Robinson right now, think about this era and the way that basketball is played. He would have developed a 3-point shot. He already had it. He's already shooting from 18 feet.
He'd be better than Giannis ever was.
Correct. Yeah, because he's more skilled.
I mean, he was a very skilled.
And he's a freakishly athletic.
Is it because of his delayed growth?
Yes.
Is it because his skills were
he was
for a small guy? He was a guard that grew into a center.
Anthony Davis is kind of similar to that, to where he was 6'4".
Listen, don't even talk to me. I know you're not. But if somebody wants to say Anthony Davis, David Robinson, no.
No. I'm just saying the similarities that Anthony Davis was a 6'4" guard going into his senior year of high school and shot up to 6'11". So Robinson, same thing, 6'6" going into the Naval Academy. Next thing you know, he's 7'1", but he's got the ball handling skills, the freakish athleticism.
He was a hell of a defender, man. He was a
hell of a multiple positions.
Did he win Defensive Player of the Year a couple times? I almost feel like
just one time, 1992.
Which was the Dream Team year, which is how good he was in that Dream Team era.
Yeah, 95 MVP, 75th anniversary team.
I feel like at the 57-minute mark of every Boomer Bevo podcast, we go into some old Spurs talks. And this is where I feel it's incumbent upon me to remind everybody that David Robinson had to play with Rod Strickland. And that's the one reason he wasn't able to win anything until Tim Duncan made it onto the team. I blame Rod Strickland. He's the reason, Kevin. He's the reason.
Well, I mean, you said that 91 can't let it go, huh?
Throwing it over his head to nobody against the Portland Trailblazers. It broke my heart, dude. And you know what my dad turned to me and said? As long as Rod Strickland's on our team, we'll never win anything. And that
stuck with you.
Rod Strickland almost won a title, and I think my dad would have I don't know what team he was on, but they were in the finals or something, and I think my dad would have gone his heart would have broken. Speaking of the NBA, we'll close this thing up, Kevin. Speaking of the NBA, are you okay with a YouTube dunker winning the dunk contest 3 years in a row over actual NBA players?
Yes, I'm fine with it because it would pretty much be unwatchable without him.
I thought your boy from the Spurs did pretty good. Stephon.
Yeah, I thought he did too. Stephon Castle, who is going to be a great player, by the way.
Yeah, he did okay.
I don't know if you ever watched him at UConn. This dude is a lockdown defender and freakishly athletic, and he is better than I expected him to be as a rookie. So just look out for him in the next few years. Yeah, no, I thought he did a really good job.
Real quick, what's his game like? Castles. Shea? Is he going to be a Shea-like player?
He's actually even more of a dog defensively.
Really?
I mean, I think he has Kawhi Leonard potential defensively. He's that kind of defensive player. When we finish here, just go on to YouTube and just put Stephon Castle defense from UConn. Stephon Castle defensive highlights. And just watch his defensive highlights. Yeah. He's an absolute monster.
Him and Victor get it going. They need one more player now. Now just go find one more. Just keep building it. They'll build it. It'll be all right. Spurs will be back. Look, as far as Max McClung goes, I don't know what else you're supposed to watch because that dude's the only show in town.
Yes.
And it's unbelievable. And yes, I guess, I mean, have you looked back at his personal stats? He led the G team in points. He led his college team in points. You almost wonder if the Magic would go ahead and play him, if maybe he might be any good. I guess not. We're not NBA execs.
Not.
I don't know.
Yeah, the
But
NBA
he is
execs are
a
not going to be holding guys who can help them win off the court.
but he is a basketball player, right? We can agree that he's
Yeah,
a
yeah, he's a
basketball
player.
player.
Yeah, I mean, I remember he was in high school because he was a YouTube sensation in high school, doing crazy dunks in game. I remember when he committed to Georgetown, went there, and then he actually transferred to Texas Tech.
His dunks are unbelievable. Now they all have props, and they all got this, and they all got that. I don't care about any of it. I had forgotten that Max McClung was even on there. I was in a hotel room down in Dallas for soccer, and I remember that it was Saturday night, and I did see the homage to Vince Carter. Oh my God, Kevin,
There have been
best.
some okay, yeah. There
Go
have been
ahead.
some great dunk contests, right? The one with Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon probably
Yes.
was the best competition. But I'm telling you, no dunk has made me feel like the 360 windmill by Vince Carter made me feel. And if you look at it now, it doesn't look impressive. And you show it to a young person, they would think it's just the most basic dunk ever because guys do that dunk in game now. But at that time in 2000, when he did that 360 windmill, man, nothing has made me feel the way that one made me feel.
I know of the 5 dunks they showed that some might argue the least impressive dunk is when he puts his forearm through the rim.
Yeah.
That's the one that made me feel something.
Whatever,
It
yeah.
was
I'm
like,
like, what is that? It was just almost confusing. Like, what just happened?
I mean, now back to Max McClung. Similarly, when he jumps over whoever that 7-footer was, he jumps over, grabs the ball, taps the goal, and then dunks it, and then asks you for a rewind. It's like, that's fantastic. I'm with you. I mean, why not? Now, All-Star format, Sunday night. Like it, love it, leave it, get rid of it,
I
bring it
mean,
back.
whatever, man. I mean,
Trae Young
I
had
think
bad. Trae Young didn't like it.
a lot of guys didn't like it. I guess I didn't mind it, but there was there's so much stuff happening in between the games. You know, it's like the
Yeah.
game would happen, and then there's a whole ceremony about this person, and then we'll do the game, and then we stop the game. There's a whole ceremony about this, and we're thanking the TNT guys, which was nice to see, right? Shout out to the TNT guys for what they've done for basketball over the years. But I don't know how they get this thing right, or if they ever can get it right. The players don't care, right? Based on the way they have played over the last 5 years or so, So I don't know what to do with it, man.
Winners get $750,000. All-Star MVP gets $5 million. Defensive Player of the Game gets $2 million.
Hey,
Would you play for that?
I'm sure they would. They play hard in the NBA Cup.
Listen. I don't. You and I both played ball growing up and stuff. I never liked it either when basketball got out of hand, when it wasn't fun, when guys just started messing around and
Yeah.
you liked it to be a game, like where there was, I don't know,
Yeah. We're
some
not
sort of
asking
competitive.
if it's the Game 7 of the NBA Finals, but
No, but you want to see something, man. And I don't know. It's what's so funny is you like go back and look at like highlights of the Pro Bowl when they're like hitting people,
yeah.
and you just think to
Sean
yourself,
Taylor destroying the Bills punter.
and you're like, how did we ever do that?
Yeah.
And are we gonna look back at like Magic Johnson's All-Star game in '92 and go, how would we ever recapture that moment? Because Kobe doesn't exist anymore. Kobe was like our last link to competitiveness. And that's like the problem that everybody has with like LeBron is we all feel this is not his fault. Okay. But there's a feeling that the era of basketball that we currently exist in, especially with regards to things like this that we're losing, are a direct result of LeBron and his lackadaisical approach to the game. And we don't like it.
Lackadaisical? What are you talking about?
I'm saying his ankle wasn't hurt, bro. His ankle wasn't hurt. Michael Jordan played 82 games in his final season. He had blood drained from his knee in every one of those 82 games and started the All-Star game and played it. Not LeBron. We're not going to let somebody else get named. I'm going to say my ankle's sore. Come on. I can't deal with it. It's that attitude. That's why we're at this stupid situation.
Honestly, I think the issue with all this is the fact that these guys all know each other and they're all friends. They play like AAU stuff and they're all friends.
I hate it.
Yeah. They all know each other and they all like each other. That's really what this is.
There's not enough hate.
Yeah. They're all friends.
I know. This is why OU Texas is so much better than anything in the NBA, Kevin.
Yes.
Because they might know each other, but all they got to do is put on crimson or burn orange, and they end up hating each other pretty damn quick.
Correct.
Pretty damn quick. It's amazing. And it doesn't
all
go
over
anywhere.
There, we over here.
And it doesn't go anywhere, Kevin. The hate is real, which brings us back to where we started the show. How is this guy, this Texas fan, going to feel about watching his son run out the crimson and cream?
That's interesting, right? Because he's a big-time fan. He's at all our games and stuff. So
maybe we're going to convert him, Kevin. Maybe we're going to turn him.
Maybe you'll turn him for 4 years.
Elaine tried to turn somebody in Seinfeld. I don't know if you knew that. In an episode, she almost had him. He turned back. Anyway, all right. It's a little Seinfeld reference. You can figure out where that goes. That might be all I've got. Did you watch this Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary?
How was it?
It was okay. There were some good parts and some bad parts.
Was it just cool seeing everybody back?
It was awesome.
Together.
Yeah, it was awesome. I grew up as a Saturday Night Live kid.
Yeah.
Like it was, and so I love Saturday Night Live. It was huge. Dana Carvey, Mike Myers, Chris Farley, Phil Hartman, all those guys. I mean, if anybody wants to know why middle-aged guys are the way they are now, you can look at Saturday Night Live in the 90s. I mean, look at how many movies came out of that. Adam Sandler movies and all that kind of stuff. It was crazy. So it was a pretty big part of it. Something that you might find interesting. The best skit was Black Jeopardy, where did you see it? Did you see the clip?
No.
It's Tracy Morgan is playing somebody. Okay. He's just like a random guy, but he's one of the contestants. Eddie Murphy is playing Tracy Morgan next to Tracy Morgan.
Oh, that's perfect.
Kevin, it might have been some of the funniest stuff that Eddie Murphy has done. And I think Eddie Murphy's made a comeback too. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of resurrected his career a little bit. Dude, he was so on point. It was so good. Oh my gosh.
I'll have to check that out. I'm sure the clip.
Oh, yeah, it was really good. Other stuff, there was some good stuff, but I don't know. I was flipping between it and the All-Star game. So that's where we're at. All right, dude. Kevin, try to stay safe in the weather conditions. It's I don't love it. Do you get cabin fever? Do you get cabin fever, or do you like taking the day off and being able to just relax?
No, I prefer to do stuff, but I'll stay busy at home. There's always stuff to do around the house.
Yeah, the problem is though, you don't have kids at home right now.
Yeah.
They have not had school. Today's a Tuesday. They have not had school since Thursday last week. And they're not having school tomorrow. They've already called it.
Yeah. So
it's rough. That's rough. Oh, it's awful. It's awful. Oh. And then you know what? Then they got to watch Oklahoma play Florida in basketball tonight.
Well, they don't have to.
Well, if they don't want it to be their fault they lost, they got to watch it.
That's true.
Get it?
Yeah, because y'all don't show up. Build the new arena. Y'all gonna do that? The new arena coming?
I guess we voted a new mayor, or Norman did. Voted a new mayor, and his platform is to let the population decide, to basically let Norman vote if they want one or not.
That'll be interesting.
I am torn. I am in the minority. I am not normal Oklahoma fan on this. I am outside. I think redesign the Lloyd Noble. I think build it where the Lloyd Noble is. To me, it's like you've got softball right there with the new Loves. You got the baseball stadium. You've got sorority and fraternity row real close. And then you've got the basketball. And then you got the LNC. Like, I don't know why we're so anxious to move it, as if magically something's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, But again, I know that
They
as an
want the
Oklahoma fan,
entertainment thing, right? That's what they want. They want it to be an entertainment venue, kind of like the Moody Center is in Austin.
again, I'm sure you're right, and maybe that's the direction it needs
And
to
I'm not
go.
even saying it's the right decision. I'm just saying it sounds like that's what they're thinking.
I think here's the deal. I think having a 8,000 person arena in Norman, where they're suggesting it, is probably good for the city of Norman. Even outside of basketball, I think you could get concerts and events, and you could really create kind of a destination type area there in that part of Norman and really the whole town. I don't think it gets anybody going to OU games. Outside of the first half dozen games that are at home, and everybody checks it out, and they're like, okay, well, now are we going to win?
Yeah,
because
I agree.
Dari Noka gets on the other day on the SEC Network and goes on a rant about Oklahoma supporting sports outside of football, and Dari's great, and Dari is an OU alum, and he's got every right to have.
Wow, too.
Yeah. I'm disagreeing with him, but I'm not. I hope it's seen as a civil disagreement. Like, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying, win. You want to move. You want to move the stadium, and then you're going to complain about students not coming to games. Those two things don't work. Students are not going to leave campus to go watch basketball games. They won't even do it. They won't even do it. They won't even do it on campus, Kevin.
Yeah, we can walk to the game.
So, just everybody, whatever. What's your thoughts on it? What's Casey's thoughts on it?
We were kind of going back and forth, right? I think we kind of understood both parts. Like, you can see how it can create some buzz, and you can get other events there, and it creates an arena buzz. But how is this going to help OU basketball? Are people still going to come to the games? Are the students actually going to leave campus and travel to I-35 and Rock Creek to go to a game? Or the university going to have a shuttle buses for the students to come to the games? How is that going to work? And how do you get a buzz there? So I don't know. It's a gamble. Sounds like it's a big gamble, because Texas, they built that Moody Center and it's been a huge success. But the difference is, geographically, the University of Texas is right on I-35. So the arena is right on campus, and it can still be a concert venue because it's easy to access because it's right there on I-35. So even if you don't care about the University of Texas, if you want to go see Justin Timberlake, whoever, it's easy to get to. Whereas if they were to build something like that on campus, it would be a little bit harder to get to on Highway 9 than I-35. So I don't know, man. But me being a college sports purist, I enjoy sports being on campus. I feel kind of bad for fans of teams like Miami and USC and UCLA, where you have to travel off campus to go to a football game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, win games.
Yeah.
You want fan support, you want NIL funding, and chicken and egg, I guess. But listen, dude, the chicken and the egg doesn't mean you lose to LSU.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying, though, right? It's like, just because
just in need of just a full reset.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, I mean, okay, great. Yeah, there's not enough NIL funding. Okay, you were up 5. You're up 5 with 22 seconds. Like, that's not it. Up 5 with 22 seconds against maybe the worst team in the SEC is not an NIL issue. That is a coaching and an execution issue.
Yeah.
And it needs to be thought of as such. Are there bigger?
It's year 4, man.
Dude, we're not making the tournament. Lenardi can have us in. You've seen the rest of our schedule. Dude, there ain't no way. Florida, Kentucky, Texas. I think we might have another Auburn game in there. Like, we're hoes, man.
Oh, Steve. Auburn?
Is there an Auburn game? What's it say?
Let me see. Okay,
it's not good.
Florida, Mississippi State, who's good.
Yeah.
They're ranked 21. Then Kentucky, Ole Miss, Missouri, and then at Texas.
Yeah, it's just not good.
Yeah, it's tough.
We can't win that game. We can't win those. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. I'm not trying. Listen, dude, I'm normally a pretty positive guy, but I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
You're just going by what you're seeing.
Kevin, what a great show. What a great day. It's cold, but this was fun. Have a great rest of your week. Everybody else, be safe out there. Boomer!
Okay.